Hello and welcome back to my channel. Just a few hours ago we had a new moon solar eclipse, which was only visible from parts of Europe, but still was felt energetically. And in astrology, eclipses take really high significance. They usually mark a massive turning of events, polarized between really intense new beginnings and really intense endings. My name's Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and thanks so much for joining me today. I'm going to give you the scoop on what just happened with that eclipse and how it's going to affect you in the days and months to come. So we usually have two eclipses within a 2-week period, once every 6 months. So basically twice a year we'll have two eclipses, and then we'll have a 6-month break and then 2 more eclipses. The really interesting thing about the eclipse cycles is that we will have eclipses in 2 astrological signs for approximately 2 years. And then those eclipses will shift to a new set of 2 astrological signs. So the last time we had an eclipse this year, we had a new moon solar eclipse April 30th and a full moon lunar eclipse on May 16th. Now, what was really important about those eclipses in the beginning of the year was that those were the first eclipses in a really long time on the Taurus and Scorpio axis. So Taurus and Scorpio are total polar opposites. And when we have these eclipses, a new moon solar eclipse means that the moon and the sun are in the same spot and the moon is blocking out the light of the sun from our perspective here on Earth. And when we have a full moon lunar eclipse, what that means is that we've got the sun in one place and the moon in the opposite spot, and we on Earth are in the middle, and we block off the light of the moon that has been coming from the sun. So a full moon lunar eclipse is when the moon's light gets blocked out, and a new moon solar eclipse, the sun's light gets blocked out. So these are just general, astronomical terms. These things happen on a regular basis. So why are they significant in astrology? Well, the reason is the sun represents our sense of self, especially outer expression, like the character we are in society, that kind of thing, what people see on the outside. And the moon represents who we are on the inside, our intuition, our feelings, things that people don't really see unless we share with them. So the moon and the sun are really important in astrology because they essentially represent the yin and yang sides of us as human beings. And because the moon is so close, it has a gravitational pull, it pulls the tides of the ocean, and it pulls us because we're roughly 70% water. So it's all connected. It's a crossover between science and spirituality. The reason eclipses are really important is because that alignment of the sun and us on Earth and the moon becomes so exact that the gravitational pull and everything that's happening is amplified. And so the astrological significance of any new moon is a new beginning, and the astrological significance of any full moon is a time of closure or peak experience or bringing about a conclusion. So when we have an eclipse on either a new moon or a full moon, it amplifies that energy. So we had a new moon solar eclipse just a few hours ago, and it was in the sign of Scorpio. And what made it especially potent today was that Venus was right there too, in the exact same spot, 2 degrees Scorpio. Now, the beginning degrees of Scorpio are really intense. Some signs fare well with intense emotions. Some signs don't really know how to handle it. Now, the signs that are most likely to have a difficult time right now and during this eclipse cycle are Leo and Aquarius, because you guys are 90 degrees away from Scorpio and Taurus. 90-degree angle in astrology is known as a square. A square represents a challenge, but it's not an end block. It's not a dead end. It's not a dead end road. A challenge in the experience of an astrological square simply means it's like a mountain that needs to be climbed. So if you're up to the challenge, you'll gain a lot out of it. What I've done is I've got a quick little bit for each astrological sign, what house this eclipse is happening in and how it's going to affect you. Now, what's going to be most difficult about utilizing the energy of this eclipse cycle is that Scorpio, as I mentioned, is intense. It's a water sign. It's all about the depth of experience that we can have as human beings. Really strong emotions, amazing creativity, unbelievable intuition. But everything in the land of Scorpio is felt intensely. And so when we had this eclipse this morning, and it was in the same spot as Venus, I don't know if you felt it, but it was really intense on an emotional level. So whatever your emotional baseline was today, this eclipse would have amplified it. If you were already feeling a little bit off, probably sent your day downhill. If you were already feeling on top of the world, it just would have amplified that energy that you already had. But when we, as humans, experience emotions, the emotion is never the issue. It is what we do with those emotions that can potentially be an issue. And that's where we have to really catch ourselves, because the energy of this eclipse cycle is going to really bring up some intense emotions. They could be good, they could be bad, but when we label them as good or bad, we attach significance. And if we have labeled something as bad, we may also attach blame. I had some thoughts this morning as I was dealing with my own intense emotions because of this eclipse. And I was thinking about how when we have an emotional experience, we are given a choice point. We can either take a road where we point the finger of blame and we say, you know what, I'm feeling really upset today and it's because of this, this, and this, which may be valid. But if we are pointing our fingers in blame, we are also assigning the power of solving these problems or resolving them to the same party. If we place our blame on, oh, I'm really upset because this and this and this happened, or say our experience was that somebody bothered us. Sure, our experience may be valid, but if we're like, oh, they bothered me and now my day is terrible, what we've done is we've given all the power to that person or that situation or that experience. If we actually want to be able to use the emotions instead of getting stuck in them, we have to take personal responsibility. Now, I do want to be clear. I'm not talking about this way that some people have of defining the law of attraction, where some people say, oh, if bad things happen, that means you manifested it. No, sometimes life just sucks. And there's no spiritual significance to that. The spiritual significance comes with us learning how to manage our emotions and view situations or experiences as not necessarily good or bad, although those definitions could be valid, using our emotional experience to view our situations as opportunities. Yes, I was feeling upset today. Yes, I had valid reasons. But if I got lost in feeling upset, I never would have made this video. Instead, what I did was I journaled about it. I thought about it, and I sat with my feelings. So during this eclipse cycle where Scorpio and Taurus are being activated, we may have valid reasons to say that our needs are not being met or that we're not feeling well or whatever it is that comes up. But in order to make the most of this and turn this into an opportunity, we have to ask ourselves, what can I do about it? And simply asking yourself, what can I do about it? Well, that opens up a huge world of possibilities where we're no longer stuck in this emotion, but now we're looking for an exit door or a resolution. So feeling upset, maybe the solution could be, hey, I'm going to take a 5-minute break or an hour-long break. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do something that is a healthy coping mechanism. I'm going to bring myself back to a place of center and peace, and then I'm going to try again, right? So anytime we come up against an obstacle, anytime we come up against an emotion, our experience over the next few weeks is going to be really intense, I'm not going to lie. But you have a choice point here. You can either point the finger in blame and assume that other people are going to take care of it, and if they don't, you can stay mad. It's a waste of time. Even though those labels of blame may be valid, if you take responsibility and you ask yourself, what can I do about this situation? I can walk away, I can try again, I can ask for help. Then you're making the most use out of this situation, and then this is going to be an amazingly potent time for you to make some fantastic new beginnings in your life. So this new moon solar eclipse is asking us, just like the sun was eclipsed today, the sun equates to the ego. And if we are able to put our egos aside, hold space for that emotion, sit with your emotions, And then ask yourself, what can I do about this? Having Venus in the same spot as the moon and the sun today really took the edge off. Could have been way more intense, but we are given an opportunity to love ourselves unconditionally and see ourselves as worthy. When we see ourselves as worthy, like deserving of happiness, deserving to be healthy, basic human need stuff, then we empower ourselves to make choices that are going to correct the situation or approach resolution, right? If we don't see ourselves as worthy and we get lost in ego and we say, oh, well, this bad thing happened to me and now I'm in a bad mood and bad things happen to me all the time, so I've been in a bad mood for a really long time. That's just making excuses. That's your ego talking. So this new moon solar eclipse is an opportunity to say, okay, ego, see you later. What can I do about it? How can I use this emotion to better my situation? How can I use this emotion to set some boundaries that make me feel better in the future? Depending on your sign, there's a lot of different ways this can go. So thank you for sticking around through that long intro. I am going to jump in to the 12 zodiac signs. First, what I want to do is I want to show you the chart for the eclipse today. We've got a really big focus over here. Mercury is not far away. Moon, Sun, and Venus here in the eclipse. For those who are interested in the chart, I am happy to post it. I'm going to add it as a comment below this video. And so for those who are not super interested in the technicalities of it, here we go. Horoscopes. So I'm going to start with Aries because you are the first sign in the zodiac. And Aries, you've been going through a lot lately when it comes to relationships. You've been really having to pull apart what is your part in relationships. When things happen, are you able to separate yourself from the emotion and use each situation as an opportunity? Or are you getting lost in, me versus them dynamics? So it's been really hard for you, Aries, lately with a lot of relationship stuff coming up. And this is not just romantic ones. This could be close friends. This could be people you work with, or perhaps even a business partner. What's awesome though is that this new moon solar eclipse for you, Aries, is happening in your 8th house. And it's creating a really interesting angle with Jupiter that is retrograde right now at the very first degree of your sign. So your message is trust yourself. Believe that you are capable of overcoming your obstacles. Believe that you are worthy of feeling peace and happiness or any of these emotions that you desire. It feels really hard when where you're at right now and where you want to be feel a great deal apart. So be patient with yourself. Believe that you are capable of accomplishing anything that you get your mind to. And if you find yourself focusing on external reasons why things aren't happening, as valid as it may be, see what you can do to empower yourself to move forwards in a way that is going to be helpful. You're going to be given an opportunity in 2 weeks to really make the most of the values that you've aligned with and the abundance that you're hoping to manifest. This could come as an opportunity, and it's the biggest message I have for you is reverse luck. What feels like bad news right now might end up being one of the best things to ever happen to you. So Aries, the best you can do over the next few weeks is try and separate yourself from attaching either good or bad to any emotion or experience. Trust that you are capable of moving through this. Trust that what is happening is going to work out in your best interests, and see what you can do to take everything as an opportunity instead of a brick wall. Taurus, the new moon solar eclipse for you is happening in your 7th house. So you're having an opportunity where you're able to make some fresh starts and new beginnings when it comes to how you relate to other people. But the footwork, the foundation that brought you here was months and probably even longer of thinking about where, how, when, and why you are healthy. And you've been going through a whole lot of stuff where you had to learn to take responsibility for your health, your well-being, your mental health, your emotional health. And as a result, starting today, you're going to see that your one-on-one personal relationships have shifted drastically. And this has been a long time coming. It's not an instant thing, but the instant part is all of a sudden you're going to start noticing that the way you engage with people is different, noticing that the people you choose to hang out with is different, and the core experience here is being the healthiest version of yourself. So good job. You're going to want to make sure to really be mindful of your part in relationships, keeping up all the things that you've been learning, putting it into practice, because in 2 weeks, a huge part of your old self is going to be shed. Now, I don't know exactly how that's going to happen for you, but what I'm referring to is that there's going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in your first house in 2 weeks, which is going to mark the end of something that you used to identify with. So what's happening right now is seeing your relationships as different, and in 2 weeks, you're going to be confirming that you are no longer the old you. Awesome stuff. Gemini, the last few weeks, months for you have been really hard when it comes to your relationship with either your children or your relationship with your personal creative drive. There's been a lot of ego intertwined with creative expression, how you identify, whether or not you're working yourself to the bone or actually getting enough time for play in your life. So you've been making a lot of really big shifts lately, cultivating a new sense of identity. Mars is going to be retrograde in your sign at the end of the month, so you may find yourself having to go back over things you thought you already sorted out, but it's going to be an opportunity for you to confirm who you are, what you want, and what you're creating in your life. Now, this new moon solar eclipse for you is a new beginning when it comes to your health. Whether you're changing daily routines, getting rid of some bad habits, starting to eat well, any resolutions you can make right now are going to have the same energy as like a New Year's resolution, except this kind of thing, if you start right now, is actually going to be something that you're going to stick with, unlike how we typically ditch New Year's resolutions after a couple of weeks. So this is a really, really awesome new beginning for you, and you're going to feel really good about the daily routines that you've put into place. So be really mindful right now of being honest with yourself, being honest about what needs to change and what you can do about it. Cancer, the last few weeks, few months for you have been really cool, actually. Even though Mercury retrograde is a challenging time, for you, you've done a whole lot of work to establish a foundation of emotional health. You've taken the breaks when you need to. You've been resting and withdrawing from the world when you need to. You've been doing you. And as a result, your creative flow is getting a huge kick in the boo today. This new moon solar eclipse for you is in your 5th house, creating a water trine, which is going to be amazing for feeling like, oh my God, the vaults are open, the flow is happening. You're going to be feeling like you're in the zone. And as a result, you're going to be making some really important career decisions in about 2 weeks, thinking about how you feel this new version of you that feels healthier and refreshed and just more authentic. And the changes you're going to make in 2 weeks are going to make sure that what you do for a living are really, really aligned with this new foundation that you've set. So don't overcommit yourself. Remember everything that you've learned. You are far wiser than you give yourself credit for. And you've always done things in your own particular way. So own it and love it, and keep doing you. You're doing great. Leo, the last few weeks, few months for you have been really interesting. There's been a whole lot of written word, a whole lot of communication, a whole lot of back and forths between yourself and the people in your closest circle. Maybe you've been communicating a lot with siblings. Maybe it's just been a whole lot of kind of like reconnecting with people. But there's also been like a sense of purpose behind your communication, that you're hoping to accomplish a particular goal. And on that note, this new moon solar eclipse for you is happening in your 4th house. So you are attempting a new beginning right now that is hopefully a reflection of emotional health and owning your emotions rather than pointing a finger of blame. Now, for you, this is going to be really interesting because whatever choices you make right now, if you're truly walking your healthiest, a humble path of ownership and responsibility and honor and integrity, whoa, you're going to have an amazing future moving forwards. In fact, in 2 weeks, you are going to cement some sort of either legacy or new career or new position in your career. There's something awesome happening in 2 weeks when it comes to your career if you're making your highest choices right now. Now, if you are not acting from a place of honor, if you are pointing the finger outwards in blame, if you're not taking responsibility for your emotional health, what's going to happen in 2 weeks is your whole world is going to cave in. So you want to be really, really careful about the choices that you're making right now. Be honest with yourself about why you're doing something and what your intentions are. What is truly motivating you to communicate in that way or network in that way? Is it a self-serving desire or is it a desire for the highest good? So 2 pathways. It could either be awesome for you, dear Leo, or it could go totally sideways. The choice is up to you. Make sure that you're grounded. Make sure that you are focusing on growing as an individual and walking your highest path, and everything will be okay. Virgo, the last few weeks, with Mercury retrograde first being in Libra and then touching into your sign, dear Virgo, you've been really having to kind of pick apart what your values are, what you're pouring your energy and resources into, and what your end goal is. You've had to really kind of rethink your relationship with money, rethink your budget, rethink the practicalities of how things in your life are playing out. And it's hard for you to just dream about stuff. You are implicitly realistic and practical. So it's been quite challenging over the last few months. This new Moon Solar Eclipse, though, for you is a huge opportunity for you to essentially put your money where your mouth is and really reach out with your message, with your dream, with your ideas. If you are hoping to accomplish something, but then before you even get started, you say, oh, I don't have the time, or oh, I don't have the energy, or oh, I don't have the resources. Those may be valid conclusions, but you got to check in and ask yourself, am I giving up on a dream? Or am I really making the most of my time? When I say I don't have the time, is that real? Am I actually, maybe scrolling through my phone for hours at a time? Those hours could be used in a different way. So the dreams that you're hoping to accomplish, dear Virgo, don't shut yourself down. You actually have a really cool thing going. If you just budget your time and your money and your resources wisely, moving forwards, this is actually going to be an amazing opportunity for you to make a breakthrough as far as where you're going and the team or the connections that are going to help you get there. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know, Virgo, you are typically the kind of person to say, oh, I'll do it myself. But right now, this is a new beginning when it comes to speaking your truth and asking for help. You don't have to do it alone. In 2 weeks, you're going to have an opportunity, Virgo, to really expand your horizons. So don't hide out and be a hermit. Try and make the most of this time and this energy. It's got huge potential. Follow your dreams. Libra, you have been going through a definite disassembling and reconstruction of your entire self. Over the last few weeks, few months, you've been thinking a lot about who am I? Where am I going? What am I hoping to accomplish? And it's been a challenging time for you because you've been asking a lot of really heavy and really significant questions. This new Moon Solar Eclipse for you is happening in your 2nd house. So you have an opportunity to hit the reset button when it comes to your time and your energy and how you choose to allocate it. This is a chance for you to be able to develop an action plan that really aligns with your values, where you've got a little bit of each thing that you're hoping to accomplish. You want to have ample time off, but you also want to be able to make enough money. So if you make sure that your end goals are not too extravagant, but also not too minimal, there's going to be a Goldilocks zone for you. Don't be afraid to utilize magic, to speak to your higher power, to manifest exactly what kind of schedule it is that you're hoping for, so that you are going to be well equipped moving forwards. Life is like a marathon. You want to set a reasonable pace, that allows for a good balance of everything that you're hoping to achieve, but you've got to leave room for rest and play. Don't forget that part. For you, Libra, in 2 weeks, the full moon lunar eclipse is going to be in your 8th house. So there's some sort of really intense, like, if you've been working on a lot of karmic lessons right now, you're going to notice in 2 weeks that a whole bunch of cords have been severed. Negative attachments, negative associations, negative ways of perceiving yourself. Now that you're learning how to be more self-sufficient when it comes to your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health, you're not looking for that validation outside of yourself so much. You've always been people-focused, but there's a massive shift happening for you where you're not looking for people to fill your needs. You are meeting your own spiritual and emotional needs, and you're learning how to engage with people on a different level where there isn't that past experience feeding everything like the bottom part of an iceberg. That eclipse that's happening in 2 weeks is going to be in your 8th house. So it's going to be about breaking karmic patterns. It's going to be about being really, really attentive and aware to how your emotion flows and where your energy goes. So really cool time for you. Scorpio, a lot of attention on you, Scorpio, right now, and this new moon solar eclipse with Venus all at the very beginning of your sign is an opportunity for you to hit the reset button when it comes to how you're evolving and what form you've taken most recently. Your sign is actually represented by 3 animals: the scorpion, the eagle, and the phoenix. Your sign is known for being transformative and like a chameleon, but so authentically you. And every time that you evolve and learn new things and redefine yourself, your outer appearance also changes as well. This is one of those times. There's something amazing happening for you with this new moon solar eclipse in your 1st house right now, where you're really aligning with the concept of loving yourself unconditionally. Again, tying in these themes of self-worth. And it's not an ego-based self-worth. It's the kind of thing where you know how old of a soul you are. You know your integral worth. And instead of chasing, instead of complaining, you've really come back to center. And today's solar eclipse is one of those moments where you're like, whew, I feel different. I feel new. I feel rejuvenated. So soak it up, Scorpio. Really cool energy for you right now. There's a lot of new beginnings for you happening right now, and they're happy ones. They're positive ones. They're empowering ones. The full moon lunar eclipse is going to happen in 2 weeks, is going to be in your 7th house. So as a result of this new realignment with your authentic self, you might be kind of cutting off communication with some people over the next few weeks, the peak of that being in 2 weeks. So any jobs, any relationships, any friendships in which you really don't feel like you're being honored for who you truly are, any relationships in which you feel like you have to pretend or wear a mask or cope with somebody else, tolerate somebody else, those are all going to be tossed to the wayside within 2 weeks. You're over it. You're done. You're moving on, right? And it's going to be good for you moving forwards to let go of those unhealthy connections. Sagittarius, you've been doing a whole lot of rethinking about your creative expression, your place in society, and what your ultimate goal is in life as far as kind of how you see yourself, your place in this world. Now, this new moon solar eclipse for you is an opportunity for you to kind of clean out the cobwebs of your head. You've been coping with a lot. You've been stuffing a lot of your feelings, all the frustration you've been through, all the challenges you've been through. People ask you how you're doing, and usually you'll just be like, hey, I'm good, yeah, because it's a whole lot easier than telling people, oh my God, I'm really struggling, right? And it's great that you love to stay positive, but what's happened here is that you've got this like vault of frustration and resentment. And again, what I said about emotions in the beginning of the video was your experience is valid. Your emotions are valid. But what's really important right now is where you let your emotions take you. So if you get stuck in this frustration and you're exhausted by life, even though you have reason to be, you're not going to be seeing this opportunity for a fresh start for what it is. If you're able to purge those emotions, let them come out. You don't have to be positive all the time. Scream into a pillow, go for a run, go punch a punching bag. You got to get these emotions out, because what is behind those emotions is a desire to make some positive changes in your life so that you don't feel like upset all the time about everything you've been tolerating. So this new moon solar eclipse for you in your 12th house, gotta clear out the yuck so that you can make room for lots of yum. It's an opportunity for a new beginning, but you're not going to have any space for this new beginning if you're full of all these emotions that you haven't released yet. So it's a really intense energy right now. So if you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like screaming, scream. Get it out. Don't hold it back. You're going to find awesome solutions on the other side of that purge. So in 2 weeks for you, you're going to have an opportunity to make some changes to your daily life, daily routines. Maybe you're looking for a new job. Maybe you're making some healthy choices about, eating habits or any other potentially negative habits like smoking or anything like that. So the focus is going to be on health over the next 2 weeks. But you have to validate your emotions to figure out what it is that needs to change. So good luck. Be brave. Sit with your emotions. Don't run from them. Capricorn, right now you are still figuring out your goals, and you've been doing a really good job of kind of climbing the base of the mountain, so to say. But as a mountain goat, the base of the mountain's easy, but now you're kind of coming up to this cliff face, and you need to think about what your next best steps are going to be. And because you've been struggling for so long, your clarity isn't 100% there. And so what you want to be mindful of is when you're trying to problem solve, but you're problem solving from a place of heightened emotions, you're not going to see all of the opportunities available to you. So anything at all that brings you peace and brings you joy, anything at all, once you get to a peaceful place and you feel centered and relaxed, then think about, how can I problem solve these things that I'm feeling challenged by right now? There is a message about your generosity. This new moon solar eclipse is creating a helpful sextile to the asteroid Pholus. And Pholus is all about when we are so generous that sometimes we put ourselves out because we're taking care of other people so much. So there's something for you. There's a message about working with your resources and working in partnership or tandem with other people to meet a common goal when it has to do with resources or finances. You want to be careful about who you pick to be on your team. You want to be careful about the commitments that you make. And if you find that you're trying to align your particular goals with other people that are either not reliable or anything like that, you might be going back to this autopilot of, F it, I'll do it myself. But the message right now is not getting lost in that. The message right now is help and be helped. There is a positive reciprocal relationship out there for you that is going to be part of your problem solving. So keep asking for help, keep reaching out, keep working towards creative solutions. And if you're problem solving and your emotions just start getting really heightened, take a quick break. Come back to it when you feel peaceful. The solution is out there, but don't self-isolate. What's going to be happening for you in 2 weeks is rethinking your home situation, rethinking your emotional health, and making some conclusive decisions about that moving forwards. Aquarius, the last few weeks-ish have been really, really interesting as you've been exploring when and where you feel stuck. And any time that your perception is activated where you're like, oh, I feel so restricted or I feel so stuck, those are messages for you about what it is that you would like more creative control over in your life. So this new moon solar eclipse for you is happening in your 10th house of career. But what's happening is you have a new beginning that's presenting itself out of a challenge. So just as the lotus blooms in the mud, You are dealing with a pretty crappy situation right now, but in it is an opportunity for you to climb to the top of the mountain, get a better perspective, metaphorically, and make some serious changes moving forwards that are going to help you not feel stuck. It is all about creative control. It is all about managing your emotions. And if you point the finger and blame outwards, you're not going to be empowering yourself. So remember that sometimes you have to put yourself first. Sometimes you have to think about whether or not you have the resources and abilities to do what it is you're hoping to. Take things one step at a time. You can't accomplish everything all at once. Just baby steps. Little baby steps. Tackle whatever you have the energy for in one day. Do triage. Do the best you can with the most important thing. And if you run out of energy, that's okay. Tackle it a little bit later, or maybe tackle it tomorrow. But it is all about working within these restrictions that you're experiencing, and problem solving from a creative place instead of an emotional place. Lastly, Pisces. Pisces, you've been having a really interesting time where this Mercury retrograde has had you rethinking your spiritual connection, but also kind of re-tapping into your intuition. You've always been intuitive, but whether you've been taking like a tarot class maybe, or learning about your astrological sign, there's been a learning process where you've been kind of going back over your relationship with magic, with spirituality, with your higher power. And so this new moon solar eclipse here is actually going to be a turning point. Wow, I have a weird bug crawling on a piece of paper in front of me. This new moon solar eclipse is going to be a turning point for you where you're either going to commit to a new path of learning, or you're going to start taking some courses that are going to work out to be like more tools in your toolbox. So it's all about committing to being the highest version of yourself. It is from a spiritual standpoint. It's also about connecting with your dreams and with what you would see as being your ideal life or your ideal version of yourself. So keep it up. If you've been thinking about taking a class or something, really do it, because it's in your chart right now that is part of your fate. And there is also a lesson of taking frustrated emotions and, again, instead of pointing a finger, turning it into compassion. It is so easy to get riled up when people behave in unsightly ways, but if we are able to take a step back, not take it personally, and realize that whatever's happening for them is happening because of whatever's happening for them. So sometimes people lash out at us, and we have a way of taking it on. Try and remember to just have that equanimical view where you're able to balance your head and your heart. And when you're able to view people as coming from a place of being wounded or coming from a place of ego, you're able to let go of how it affects you, and just be self-sufficient in your peace, so that other people aren't able so much to disturb your peace, and that your peace does not depend on other people. Okay, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thanks so much for being here. If you have any questions, please reach out and let me know. It's a joy to connect with you guys. Good luck with this energy. And I will be checking in a little bit to tell you all about Mars retrograde and a little bit more about the upcoming eclipse in 2 weeks. Take care, you guys. Be good to yourselves. I'll talk to you soon.